الخير وعادتهم الإحسان وسجيتهم الكرم واللعن على أعدائهم الشاكين فيهم المنحرفين عنهم أجمعين أما بعد صدق الله تعالى حيث يقول وهو أصدق القائلين وقوله الحق أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي صلوات. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters, Jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I begin in the name of the most merciful Master, the most magnificent, Rabbul Alameen, the nourisher, the sustainer. I begin by giving thanks to Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. So the topic today will be regarding Islamophobia. And without making this sound too much like the paper I've written on this topic, I will give you a brief intro to help you navigate through my thoughts regarding this issue. Firstly, I will define what it means to be, firstly, I will define the meaning of Islam and what it means to be a Muslim. And then actually, I'll just get straight to it. So, Islam, the term is derived from the three Arabic root letters, salama, sin, lam, and mim, meaning to submit. And this submission is spoken about by Imam Ali alayhi salam in a famous saying of his, where he states, Al-Islam huwa taslim, wa taslim huwa yaqeen, wal yaqeen huwa tasdeeq, wa tasdeeq huwa al-iqrar, wal iqrar huwa al-ada, wal ada huwa al-amal. So he says that verily Islam is submission, and submission is conviction, is firm belief, it is yaqeen. And conviction is certification of something, and certification is tasdeeq, it is attestation. And attestation of something is the fulfillment of it, and fulfillment is the performance of required acts. So, to be a Muslim, one must submit to the belief in one God, believe in the Quran, the prophets, the messengers, angels, previous books, and so on. So, therefore, the Imam is explaining that submission is a step-by-step logical process. And the submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala must be based on yaqeen in order to be sure in the actions you are performing. Meaning that knowing everything that you do, everything that Islam expects of a Muslim has a purpose, the perfection of oneself. The Prophet, in a narration attributed to him, explains to us, he says, Al-Islam an tuslima qalbaka wa yaslamul muslimuna min al-lisanik wa yadik. He says, Islam is that you submit your heart to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that all Muslims feel safe from your tongue and your hand. The Prophet also explains what this respect encapsulates. So you cannot call yourself a Muslim until you fully submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and treat your fellow Muslim with respect. And in a number of other narrations attributed to him, he says that a Muslim must not wrong or insult another Muslim. They shouldn't betray one another or deceive one another. A Muslim should be the mirror of another Muslim. The reason why I have mentioned all these things is because of the red alert and fear a lot of people here have when they hear words such as Allah, Prophet Muhammad, Islam, and Muslim. These narrations show that being a Muslim in essence means being a God-conscious human being. However, in many parts of society, whether in the virtual space or in reality, when such terms are mentioned, immediately people feel insecure and afraid, almost as though an internal switch has gone off, prompting this fear. Hence the coinage of the term Islamophobia. And in academia, it has been defined, Islamophobia has been defined in the following way. Islamophobia is rooted in racism and is a type of racism that targets expressions of Muslimness or perceived Muslimness. It is the expression of prejudice, aversion, or hostility towards the Muslim community fueled by negative or narrow views of Islam. And according to a study published last year in October, hate crime in general is on the rise, and a major part that is linked to that is Islamophobia. Mosques are being vandalized, Muslims are being targeted and attacked on the streets and verbally abused. And of course, this is all exacerbated by people like Boris Johnson and the likes of Tommy Robinson and his sidekick, Katie Hopkins. This is one part of the problem. the attacks which come from the outside of Islam. Islamophobia is being spewed by people in power and people on TV. And the most recent example I came across it was through Syed Hussein Makki's social media post, where he showed where an influential YouTuber was spewing stereotypical Islamophobic rhetoric so casually with no care whilst laughing about it. And so this shows how deep this disease runs in the mind of the people, from the elders, the rich, the poor, and the youngsters. This has a ripple effect on the wider society and the global village. I believe a factor in the normalization of Islamophobia, or the rise in Islamophobic tendency, is in part due to colonialism. And we have seen through a study of history the negative effects of colonialism. The colonial mindset, which is still rampant today in nearly every facet of society, ranging from politics to education. And how the Muslims have been othered, as explained by Edward Said in his book, Orientalism. The Oriental mindset is fixed on deeming non-Westerners or Muslims as lesser humans. Hence, to subjugate them to violence can be justified and deemed normal for some. And the solution to this problem is through education. Read about such topics as colonialism, its origin, read about racism and the slave trade, and read about the solution that was found within Islam itself by people like Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X, who were not born Muslims. What was so profound about Islam, which made Malcolm X embrace it? He saw people from all walks of life together as one family, as one community during the Hajj pilgrimage. And this is a lesson for us all on how our religion can be a uniting factor and not the opposite. So, we have this problem of Islamophobia. We need to firstly educate ourselves on it, become a voice to speak out against this ongoing disease. Look at the Hajj pilgrimage. It is no ordinary journey. We all have to wear 2 pieces of clothing. We pray together, do tawaf together. We wear the ihram, which is symbolic of our death shrouds, which is a humbling experience in itself. Hajj is truly an enlightening experience and should not be taken lightly. It signifies the Ummah is one unified, strong body. But actually, is this the case? Is this spiritual message being carried out to our homes when we complete our Hajj? When we return home from such a spiritually enlightening and spiritually engaging experience? Are we one unified body in actuality? Which brings me on to a second problem, another form of phobia which we have experienced, which is not given as much attention, Shia phobia. It is almost every other day we hear of a bomb blast killing Hazara Shias, or for example, 4 people in America who got murdered because they were Shia. 3 were Shia and 1 was presumed to be Shia because he accompanied the other 3. And these 4 people, the only reason they got murdered was for their identity. And I see some Muslims from all sects, including the Shias, who were quick to condemn the Lady of Heaven movie for the sake of unity. However, far less attention was given when the Shias are being persecuted. For some, it has come to a point where it isn't even shocking when Shias are killed in bomb blasts in markets or the mosques. Even recently in Shiraz, in Iran, when there was an attack at the shrine, there was a video where a gunman, supposedly a Muslim, went around shooting people on sight, or the stabbing attack which occurred in the Haram of Imam Rida. This shows Shia hatred is a global problem. So Muslims, no matter your affiliation, we must unite as a unified body. We must condemn Islamophobia, Shia phobia. We must move forward and influence people in power to recognize these issues. Together as one, we can get our collective voices heard and speak out against these injustices and oppressions. Because as the Prophet so beautifully states in a hadith attributed to him, he says, "Man asbaha la yahtammu bil umuri al-muslimina falaysa bi-muslimin." He who wakes up in the morning unconcerned about the situation of fellow Muslims is not a Muslim. And in another tradition attributed to him, he, peace be upon him, states, "The believers in their mutual love, mercy, and compassion are like a single body. If one part of it feels pain, the rest of the body will join it, staying awake and suffering fever." If we can unite for something as big or as small as a football team or a Netflix series, then we sure can unite with one another as fellow Muslims, as fellow humans. And you've heard this a million times, which has been attributed to Imam Ali alayhi salam, where he states, people are of two kinds. They're either your brother in faith or your equal in humanity. So we should see the humanness in one another. Don't look at someone simply through the color of their skin, their ethnicity, their background, their wealth, or the car they drive. Open your heart and see that this is a fellow Muslim. He or she is on their own journey, with their own complexities, their emotions, upbringing, and struggles. The least we can do to one another is smile. Maybe your smile today will be passed on to 10 others. You may have smiled at someone in the morning on the way to work, and because of that, they have smiled to someone else, and so on. You do not know how far your smile will reach, and it even may return to you at the end of your day. We can all inject a little positivity in one another's lives with the smallest of gifts. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes us an ummah that takes action and does not sit back. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes us an ummah that works to protect the honor of other believers and not forsake it. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not burden us with a trial which we cannot bear, however strengthens us of those who enjoin the good and forbid the evil. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي وللمؤمنين والمؤمنات وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وسيد المرسلين وحبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم محمد. وعلى أهل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المقربين الغرر الميامين سيما بقية الله في الأرضين وحجتي على خلائق أجمعين سيدنا وإمام زماننا وصاحب نعمتنا وولي أمرنا مهدي هذه الأمة وطاووس أهل الجنة الحجة بن الحسن العسكري فداه والواه العالمين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لا إكراه في الدين قد تبين الرشد من الغي فمن يكفر بالطاغوت ويؤمن بالله فقد استمسك بالعروة الوثقى لا انفصام لها والله سميع عليم. The Quran in this verse in Surah Baqarah verse 256 states, let there be no compulsion in religion, for the truth stands out clearly from falsehood. So whoever renounces false gods and believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has grasped the firmest, unflailing handhold, and Allah is all-hearing, all-knowing. In this second part of the khutbah, I want to speak about another form of phobia or Islamophobia, which is rampant, hijabophobia. Hijab, to wear or not to wear? This is the question going around the world today. And the answer should be answered by the ones who choose to wear or not to wear. And this part of the khutbah will not be about the physical or spiritual benefits or anything like that regarding the hijab. Instead, I want to focus on hijabophobia and how it has been dealt with by both Muslims and non-Muslims, and how this phobia has been caused by both Muslims and non-Muslims. This form of Islamophobia is perhaps the one which is the most controversial, as we have seen the hijab ban in countries such as France, India, Switzerland, Canada, and Belgium, to name a few. I have read the word oppression associated with the headscarf and niqab in a lot of media interviews and newspaper articles. I've seen many non-Muslims, from teachers, politicians, the police force, and groups such as BNP describe how Muslims who wear the hijab are really oppressed, and it is a limit of freedom, and so on. We have also seen the disastrous comments made by Boris Johnson a few years ago, which increased attacks against women wearing the burqa and the headscarf. Instead of everyone speaking for people who choose to wear the scarf, whether in media or in schools or anywhere in fact, let the ones who wear it speak for themselves. Let them answer questions on freedom and oppression. Let them answer why they wear it and what it means to them, and so on. A lot of the times we hear views being imposed from, again, a racist and colonial mindset. If more people who choose to wear the headscarf are allowed to have their own respective voices be heard, then a lot of people would be wiser to the headscarf and what it means to wear one in the 21st century. So this attack of hijabophobia is coming from the outside of Islam by influential people and groups. How about the problems caused by the enforcement of wearing hijab from the Muslims themselves? Look at the disastrous consequences there. On the flip side of the coin, there are some out of their own freedom who choose not to wear it, however, are forced to. This is a problem exacerbated by the Muslims and Islamic authorities themselves. Nowhere do we see in the lifetime of the Prophet of him killing women who choose not to wear the hijab. It goes against the prophetic conduct and the message in the Quran of no compulsion in religion. A lot of the times we see the ones who themselves see them as the representation, bit of a word mix up there, but the people that think they represent the religion of the character of the Prophet themselves are far away from his character. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. When in religion or in any aspect of life, when anything is enforced, it turns people away, and this is human nature. What hope is there for Muslims who choose not to observe the hijab for whatever reason, and they are either forced to or attacked by Muslims for their decision? Where is the hope and where is the love? Where is the chance for them to see one day, maybe this may be good for them? In the future, they may see the physical and spiritual benefits of observing the hijab. However, when religion is enforced and the freedom to wear or not to wear is taken away, some Muslims may never get the chance to experience the beauty of Islam through the hijab or experience the love of God. I remember from my A-levels, we had a question relating to retribution and capital punishment. We spoke about if someone is truly repentant and they have committed a crime which deserves capital punishment, they deserve the death penalty, or someone who's been wrongly committed, they do not have a chance to retribute, they do not have a chance to go back and fix their mistakes, or an innocent could be locked up and sentenced to death. You have no chance of bringing that life back. Likewise, if the hijab is enforced upon Muslim women, it can lead to hopelessness in religion and make people turn away, never wanting to ever be associated with the religion or its people. The Prophet and the Quran teaches us to stay hopeful. Imam Hussein teaches us to stay hopeful. He has taught that hopelessness is the enemy of justice. Hope allows us to persevere no matter the obstacles faced. It is a glimmer of light in the most difficult and overbearing of times. If the Muslims in power are taking hope away from Muslims in the name of religion, in the name of hijab, then there will be more people leaving Islam than entering it. More people will hate Islam than love it. Hope allows us to see the light when all the light has been snatched away. Hope allows us to see the beauty in God even if people are trying to take it away. Hope allows you to retribute. Hope allows you to always turn back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And a verse in the Quran which states, "La taqnatu min rahmatillahi." Do not lose hope. Do not despair in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hope should always allow people to speak up and respond to Islamophobia when people say, "Be quiet." Hope is life and life is hope. But we have seen firsthand how people are losing hope, how Muslims are losing hope, and how Islam is being hated and turned away from by Muslims due to certain laws put in place by some Islamic authorities that if some part of your hair shows or the hijab is not correctly observed, you deserve so-and-so punishment, or worse, you deserve to die. Muslim women, whether they wear the hijab or not, should be valued, listened to, because at the end of the day, we are all children of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is our creator and only He can judge us. He is our first and last love, the one we all came from and the one we shall all return to. He is our hope in all times. So the message here is that we have to speak out against these huge topics, these huge issues against Muslims, and even though it is difficult, speak out against our own people and our own selves who are guilty of this Islamophobia, no matter how difficult this task may be. As Imam Ali alayhi salam says, do not look at the people and then judge the truth. Look at the truth and then judge its people. In light of all these issues mentioned, Islamophobia, Shiaphobia, hijabophobia, and being united as one unified body, I conclude with the Prophet's final sermon, who so eloquently states, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, all mankind is from Adam and Eve. An Arab has no superiority over a non-Arab, nor does a non-Arab have any superiority over an Arab. A white has no superiority over a black, nor does a black have any superiority over a white, except by piety and good action. Learn that every Muslim is a brother to every Muslim, and that the Muslims constitute one brotherhood. Nothing should be legitimate to a Muslim which belongs to a fellow Muslim unless it was given freely and willingly. Do not therefore do injustices to yourselves. Remember, one day you will appear before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and answer for your deeds. So beware, do not stray from the path of righteousness after I am gone. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد.